Hello, students. I'm going to go through the review that you guys had yesterday in class. There are a number of you guys who got them all correct. There was some of you guys who really struggled on it. So I'm going to go through each one of these questions and what it's asking. Uh, so uh, as you look at it, okay, the first thing to remember, so you're going to see me. I'm going to flip to the next page, but it's going to go through all these questions. Okay, but as we go through it, the first thing that I'd write down, okay, if you don't remember is, okay, the first thing is, for all of this, sine, cosine, tangent is SOHCAHTOA. So like this is what I'll write down and use for me. So if it says tangent, and I go look at tangent, tangent means the opposite side, okay, over the adjacent side. So I go from angle D. So first thing I need to do is identify what's the hypotenuse of this angle. So this is my 90-degree angles right there. So the side opposite, that makes this my hypotenuse. Okay, so then from angle D, then 7 will either be the opposite side or the adjacent side. So again, if I were to shoot an arrow to the opposite side, that makes that an opposite, and so that's adjacent. So from angle D, the opposite side would be 7 over the adjacent side of 4. Okay, so then I go from angle D, still from angle D, cosine is the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. So the adjacent side we said is 4 over the hypotenuse of 8.1. So it'd be 4 over 8.1. And then lastly, sine. Sine is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. So we said the opposite side was 7 over the hypotenuse of 8.1. So for this one, we want to solve for x. So x is right here. I go to my angle. Okay, from this angle, this side, I need to identify x and 17. So are they opposite? Are they hypotenuse and adjacent? Which one is which? So from 18, if I were to look, this side would be the opposite side. Okay, my hypotenuse would be opposite the right angle. So this is the hypotenuse, and so then this is my adjacent side next to it. So the ones I'm using, though, are adjacent and hypotenuse, which makes it cosine. So we say cosine of angle 18 equals the adjacent side x over 17. And then our rule is if the variable's on top, top by times. So it's 17, always the side, times cosine 18. So then we go to, not to Liam, there we go. Go to our calculator, just make sure as I hit it, it's in degrees, and so we're gonna go I gotta remember. So it's 17 times cosine 18, so 17 times cosine 18 equals, so 16.2. So equals 16.2. So I start off with my angle. Okay, so if I went from this angle, that side is opposite. So that's opposite. Here's my 90-degree angle. The side that's opposite that, that's my hypotenuse. So I'm using opposite and hypotenuse. That's sine. So I say sine 57 is equal to the opposite side y over 15. Again, my variable is on top, so I times. So 15 times sine 57. So 15 times sine 57. So that's 12.6. Again, from my angle, okay, so this is my 90-degree angle, so this makes my hypotenuse. This side is adjacent. It's next to it. So I'd say, okay, that's adjacent and hypotenuse makes it cosine of angle 50 equals the adjacent side, 6 over the hypotenuse of h. Now, if you look at it, my variable is in the denominator, so denominator means I divide. So 6 divided by cosine 50. So 6 divided by cosine 50. 9.3. So then it says find CA, so I'm going to put a variable there. So then I go from here, I go, that side is opposite of it. So this is opposite. Then I go from, here's my 90-degree angle, the side that's opposite that, that's my hypotenuse. So opposite and hypotenuse would be sine, so I say sine of 52 degrees equals the opposite side, 12, over my hypotenuse of x. Again, variables in the denominator, so I divide. So 12 divided by sine 52. So 12 divided by sine 52 equals 15.2. It says if angle H is 68 degrees, we want to know what is GI. So from this angle, so if I look at it from this angle, that would be opposite. So that's opposite. This side too, that's not the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is opposite that angle. So this is adjacent. Opposite and adjacent is tangent. So I say tangent of 68 degrees is equal to the opposite side, x, over 2. So again, variables on top, so I times. So 2 times tangent, 68. So 2 times tangent, 68. 2 times tangent, 68. Equals 4.95, so that rounds to 5. So then it says, okay, now we have, and we're supposed to leave this in radical form. So big thing to notice, it's 45, 45, 90. So just a reminder, in a 30, 60, 90, and a 45, 45, 90. Okay, so if it's a 45, 45, 90, okay, so if I know this leg, to go from the leg to the hypotenuse, I take the leg and times it by the square root of 2. In a 30, 60, 90, you have your short side. So this is our 30-degree angle. So this is a short side. Okay, so to find the hypotenuse, I take my short side and times it by 2. And to find the mid side, I take the short side and times it by the square root of 3. So we go through and say, okay, what's QP? Well, this right here, so that's my 90-degree angle. So this is my hypotenuse. So to go from hypotenuse to the leg, okay, so if I went from leg to the hypotenuse, I'd multiply by the square root of 2. So I'm going to divide by the square root of 2. Again, we don't leave the radical in the denominator, so then we multiply. So this right here is my answer, but I don't leave it in radical form, so I multiply by the square root of 2. So 12 times the square root of 2 is 12 times the square root of 2. Square root times the square root, we just multiply the numbers. 2 times 2 is 4. So then the square root of 4 is 12. The square root of 4 is 2. And now we can divide. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So my answer is 6 square root of 2. Okay? So for this one, we want to know what is this side, and we want to know this side. They give me right here, this is opposite or away from the 30-degree angle, so this is my short side. So to go from my short side to my hypotenuse, I multiply by 2. So for TU is equal to that short side, 8 square root of 3, square root of 3 times 2. So I can multiply 2 and 8 together, which gives me 16 square root of 3. For SU, that's my mid side, so I take my short side is equal to my short side, 8 square root of 3, times it by the square root of 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, and the square root of 9 is 3, so that side is 24. Okay, so now we go through which side is a Pythagorean triple. So we do our two shorter sides squared, so 6 squared and 8 squared need to equal the longest side squared. So that would be 36 plus 64 needs to equal 81. 36 plus 64, so that would be 100. So that is not a Pythagorean triple. So then we have 14, 16, and 18. So 14 squared plus 16 squared needs to equal 18 squared. So 14 squared equals 196. So 196 plus 16 squared, 250. 16 squared is 256 equals 18 squared. 18 squared equals 324. So then we go ahead and add these. Okay, so we would get 2, 5, 452 equals 324. Nope, not even close. So that's not it. Biggest thing to remember, I should point out, is make sure it's your two shortest side squared need to equal your longest side squared. So last one, we're going to go 7 squared plus 24 squared equals 25 squared. So that's 625. That's 49 plus 24 squared equals 576. So 576, we add those two together and we get 625 equals 625. Since they are equal, that is your Pythagorean triple. Okay, last thing is just you finding angles. So I want to find this angle right here. Okay, so from this angle, that side is opposite. And again, this right here, AB, this is my hypotenuse. So this would be my adjacent side. Okay, it's the side that's next to it. So I'd say tangent of x is equal to 4 over 7. Okay, so if I want to find the angle, I have to do the inverse. So x is equal to the tangent inverse of 4 over 7. So I go ahead and do that. So I hit the inverse button right there, and then I hit tangent, and then 4 divided by 7. So and we always round to the nearest degree, so that's 30 degrees for this one. So x equals 30 degrees. Now, okay, so then we want to find the measure of angle M. So we want to find this angle. So that side is opposite. And this side, 11, is opposite. It's away from the 90-degree angle, so that's my hypotenuse. So that's my H. So opposite and hypotenuse is sine, so I'd say sine of M is equal to opposite, 8 over 11. So again, if I want to find the angle measurement, then I do the inverse. So M is equal to the sine inverse of 8 over 11. So then we do that. Again, hit the inverse, I and V. Inverse sine is equal to, okay, there we go, 8 divided by 11. And so that's 47 degrees. So equals 47 degrees. Now, if you look at these two are the same, so we already found this one is 47 degrees. Okay, so if you could do it this way, you could do O. We want to find the measure of O. So from O, this side is next to it. This is still my hypotenuse. So we could do adjacent hypotenuse is cosine. So I could just say cosine of angle O, there we go, is equal to the adjacent side 8 over 11. So again, I need to find the angle, so I have to do the inverse. So angle O is equal to the inverse cosine of 8 divided by 11. So we go ahead and do that. Inverse cosine, okay, of 8 divided by 11. and we get 43 degrees. Just to point out, so that's 43 degrees. You could also done the triangle sum. So if you know this is 47 degrees, that's 90. You could go 90 plus 47, which is 137, and then go 180 minus the 137, and you get the same thing. Okay. Last problem is how do you find the area? So if I'm given two sides and the included angle, I just go 1/2 of the side 4.1 times the side of 7.2 times the sine of 47. Okay, and we'll always use sine on that. We always multiply those two sides, so I could have said 7.2 times 4.1 as well. But then we go ahead and do that. 1/2 times 4.1 times 7.2 times the sine of angle 47. And so that's about 10.8. And we'll just say units, since it's area, it will be squared. So as you go through it, you'll go through another review today. Make sure that you write down and use SOHCAHTOA as we go through it and using that 30, 60, 90.